you know what the show's about? We're talking about music theory.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you the question I ask everyone. How do you feel about music theory?
I love it. It's, it's so difficult to talk about music, which is such an intangible thing that you need to have. It becomes more tangible with recording, obviously, but without having that, it to me is it makes the whole process of creating music so much easier when you use the same vocabulary and the same language. Because I think back to when I was first like learning to play bass, and you're in your garage band with your friends and you're like, okay, the first part goes like this and then the second part goes like that, and it's only this long.
Yeah.
And it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then and it's like you can do it. People do it.
Yeah.
It's not a necessity, of course. There's plenty of great music that's been made without music theory. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of great musicians who have no theory.
Or at least like a certain level of it where they understand what they're doing.
Right. Yeah. But it's just like, for me, it makes communicating so much more effective and efficient. And I think it opens new doors. A lot of people argue the opposite, but
yeah,
I think it's a cool thing.
I feel like that's a really good answer, because I feel like also I've talked to different people and everyone's a little bit different, but I would say that for myself, I've had those situations where I've been in a room and you hold this for this long, and the I don't know what the notes are, but it's like the 3rd fret, this fret, and it's like my own ability to explain things thoroughly has gotten in the way of it happening a little bit more quicker, which, sometimes when things take too long, people get a little bit frustrated or short on time, whatever it is. But having the vocabulary to at least understand what you're doing makes it almost easier to replicate and like use as a tool later on, especially when you're composing or trying to figure something out. Like, oh, it might be this thing that I know. It's like they do the 1, then they do the 4 minor, and those things help a lot, especially when you put that together with ear training too, and you can hear those things. You can like, I have experience with this. I know what the theory is behind it. That's what that is. I'm hearing it right now, and it's the same thing that happened on this one song. It's happening on this song. Like, what's that? A Creep. Creep is notorious for doing like the 1, the 3 major, then the 4, then the 4 minor. That's such a common progression. Yep. And people are always like, "Oh, I love that Creed thing," and it's like, can you give me like a Creed thing? And it's like, yeah, like you're talking about this, right? Like, yeah, like the Creed or the Creep chords.
Yep.
I sang Creed, huh?
Creed. I wasn't sure. I was like,
Creed. Yeah, my bad. Radiohead, my bad.
No, it's kind of riffing off of that. I've known a lot of folks that have played in cover bands for a long time, and they have just a roster of hundreds of pop tunes memorized.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how is that possible? And they were saying exactly that. It's just like you see that there's a certain progression that just keeps on popping up over and over. Mm-hmm. And so you just kind of familiarize yourself with these different progressions, and instead of memorizing every single chord and every single bar of every song, you just break it into bigger chunks, and you're like, oh, it's like a blues, and then the bridge goes to a 2/5 to the 4 chord or something. You could start compartmentalizing, songs and say, oh, and then this song's really just like that song because it's the same chord progression, but it just goes up a half step in the last chorus or something. you start memorizing the different formulas of each song, which is a lot simpler to memorize than, 97 bars of music,
Yeah. I as someone who does do a lot of pop gigs too, that mentality does help a lot. It's helps with almost like also knowing when things are different. Like,
Yeah.
I know that certain sections are like what's the song? The Otis Redding song, Dock of the Bay.
Yes.
It kind of.
Yep, there it is. And then down to 6, yep.
And then there's the Sea of Love. I don't remember how that melody goes, but it's still like might even be like a 6/8.
Yep.
But then it's like I can kind of hear that, put it into placement of like if we're talking about Creep and.
Yep. Just one change. New song. Yeah, there it is.
Sorry.
Some great music in that show, man.
Oh, dude, I
Such
love it.
great music.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that, follow us on our Spotify, on our TikTok, and on our Instagram at Theory Query Podcast. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch clips. You can watch them, you can listen, you can learn, you can like, you can share, you can comment, all that good stuff. We'll see you on the next Theory Query.